Is it water with the sheep in the box?
For the past few prides, there's been a lot of discussion around flags and assimilationism, a topic I have covered before in quite some detail. The Kink at Pride discourse is now a yearly tradition, and it seems that joining it going forward is the flag discourse, which has been bubbling under the surface for quite some time, but more recently appears to have come to the fore as fellow cis white LGBs are either willfully or ignorantly declaring that the original rainbow flag was fine as it is, and all this messing around with it is unnecessary and counterproductive. Most recently, Claudia Brown, who you may know as that one Australian lady who used to make feminist videos during Gamergate, fresh off of expressing that she found trans people using pronouns she didn't like uncomfortable, who made the following very dumb, in my opinion, tweets. I think the old new pride flag is problematic because I don't see any inclusion of Asian people. I found a solution by inventing the Asian flag, combining the existing flags of Asian countries to make the ultimate flag. The most inclusive pride flag ever. If you use anything but this pride flag, I will assume you are excluding all of the groups pictured in this flag. I dislike these flags because it becomes a bit of a canary. Like, if I fly the rainbow flag, does that mean that this is a sign that I'm racist, transphobic, and exclusionary towards intersex people? Shouldn't the rainbow being all colours be a symbol for everyone? Like, you have to throw in what feels like I'm not racist disclaimers on everything, or I'm not transphobic. For example, the brown and black line and trans flag just feels like it's tacked on as a disclaimer of, by the way, I'm not racist or transphobic, as well as just about every other cis white liberal, including, of course, Vosh, who, let's be honest, does seem to have a talent for having just the worst takes possible in any given situation.
This is officially the current most progressive flag design. If you don't use this one at Pride, okay, then you are, I don't know, you're discriminating against somebody, okay? It's somebody somewhere is getting hurt. As a final lesson here, can we please stop overcomplicating the process of being progressive? I feel like every moment of every day, people are constantly trying to outwoke each other with these petty games of aesthetic symbolic progressivism. A redesigned flag that nobody is ever going to use isn't just worthless. It can be actively counterproductive at times. Okay, let's just focus on the basics. All right, and the basics are be good. Be good. Do it. Be good, please. Do we all feel represented? Is everyone here represented? Do you think they never should have added the black and brown? It's just, they're going to keep adding something new every, 5 months. Why? It's going to keep happening, too.
Now, there's a few angles to come at this from, and this video is not a direct attack, call-out, or response to any individual people, even those I've just mentioned, because this is an issue much bigger than individual people, but merely a response to these kinds of sentiments, and in my opinion, misguided ideas. So, I suppose, let's talk about the history and evolution of the LGBTQ+, otherwise known as Rainbow Pride flag.
To be gay, sing if you're happy that way. Hey, sing if you're glad to be gay. Sing if you're happy this way.
The flag we nowadays recognise as the rainbow or LGBTQ+ pride flag is not, as some would have you believe, a perfect or cohesively designed or agreed upon thing. If you really stop to think about it, you can see that. Why is it designed that way? Why are there only 6 colours? Aren't there 7 colours of the rainbow? Well, let's go through some history, shall we? So, to start, the version we see today is not the original. Here is what the original looked like as designed by Gilbert Baker in 1977. As you can see, it actually has 8 colours, and not all of them are what one might expect. First off, the basics. Baker was challenged by Harvey Milk to come up with a symbol of pride for the gay community in preparation for the San Francisco Gay Freedom Day parade celebration on June 25th, 1978. Prior to this, the pink pink triangle had been used as a symbol for the LGBT community despite, or to be honest more likely because of, its role representing a dark chapter in the history of the LGBTQ+ community. Rather than relying on a Nazi tool of oppression, the community, and Milk specifically, sought a new inspiring symbol, a way of acknowledging the struggles whilst also celebrating the joys of queerness and defining being LGBTQ+ as something more than just suffering. According to a profile published in the Bay Area Reporter in 1985, Baker chose the rainbow motif because of its associations with the hippie movement of the 60s, but he notes that the use of the design dates all the way back to ancient Egypt. Baker was likely influenced, though this has not been confirmed, by the flag of the races with 5 horizontal stripes, red, white, brown, yellow and black, popular among the world peace and hippie movement of the 1960s. As you can see here, the original flag design had 8 stripes, with a specific meaning assigned to each of the colours: sex, life, healing, sunlight, nature, magic, serenity and spirit. From here, there were a couple of minor amendments made. First, the pink fabric and/or dye was too difficult and expensive to come by, so when they came to be produced on a wider scale, the pink stripe was dropped, and eventually the blue came in to replace the turquoise and indigo in order to make the flag symmetrical and more easily split in two and flown as separate banners and ribbons. The flag has remained relatively unchanged since the 70s, but let's not pretend that it's some solid static thing by any stretch. It's been used to make variants of the US flag basically since its inception, as well as of course the variants made over the years, like in the 80s for example with the Victory Over AIDS flag, which consisted of the standard 6-stripe rainbow flag with a black stripe across the bottom. Leonard Malkovich, himself dying of AIDS-related illness, suggested that upon a cure for AIDS being discovered, the black stripes be removed from the flags and burned. More recently, there has been a renewed interest in flag design within the community. In March 2017, Gilbert Baker created a 9-stripe version of his original 1977 flag, with lavender, pink, turquoise and indigo stripes along with the red, orange, yellow, green and violet. According to Baker, the lavender stripe symbolizes diversity. In June 2017, the city of Philadelphia adopted a revised version of the flag that adds black and brown stripes to the top of the standard 6-color flag to draw attention to the issues of people of color within the LGBT community. On February 12, 2018, during the street carnival of Sao Paulo, thousands of people attended a parade called Love Fest, which celebrated human diversity and sexual and gender equality. A version of the flag created by Esteval Romain, co-founder of the festival, was unveiled, which presented the original 8-stripe flag with a white stripe in the middle, representing all colors, human diversity in terms of religion, gender, sex preferences and ethnicities, and peace and union among all. In June 2018, designer Daniel Quasar released a redesign incorporating elements from both the Philadelphia flag and the trans pride flag to bring focus on inclusion and progress within the community, as well as the work still to be done. The flag design immediately went viral as the Progress Pride flag on social media, prompting worldwide coverage. While retaining the common 6-stripe rainbow design as a base, the Progress variation adds a chevron along the hoist that features black, brown, light blue, pink and white stripes to bring those communities, people of color, trans people, those living with HIV/AIDS and those who have been lost to the disease, to the forefront. As Quasar put it, the arrow points to the right to show forward movement, whilst being along the left edge shows that progress still needs to be made. And this is the one that's caught on and has started to cause discourse, along with decisions like adding in even more elements such as the intersex flag in the chevron. So let's talk about the Progress Pride flag then, I guess. Prior to Quasar's redesign, most redesigned pride flags just either added more stripes or else bisected the flag, which drew understandable criticism from within the community of illegibility of the new flags, as well as confusion as to the purpose. After all, isn't the rainbow flag representative of the entire community? Why bother adding in other flags within the main flag? Surely that's redundant, right? I mean, if trans liberation is covered within the pre-existing rainbow flag, why also add in extra stripes representing them? Hence the chevron, which, rather than just adding more stripes and making the whole thing more confusing than it needs to be, instead keeps the pre-existing rainbow flag as is, whilst making what, in my opinion, is an important point, that whilst the flag represents represents all LGBTQ plus people, there is still progress to be made and it needs to be intersectional. At the end of the day, we must remember that, above all, this is an art piece, after all. As Quasar, who uses Zzer pronouns, put it, the arrow points to the right to show forward movement and illustrates that progress towards inclusivity still needs to be made. And of course, as Z stated pretty clearly, the design is deliberately provocative and confronting. This new design forces the viewer to reflect on their own feelings towards the original Pride flag and its meaning, as well as the differing opinions on who that flag really represents, while also bringing into clear focus the current needs within our community.
Sing if you're glad to be gay. Sing if you're happy that way. Hey, sing if you're glad to be gay. Sing if you're happy this way.
Alright, so let's briefly touch on something that's been bugging me before moving on. Flags are a huge part of Pride, with some of them dating back decades, and it's seemingly just a part of our culture at this point. New, weird, and wonderful flags are a big part of any Pride event, and since I guess I just make videos about flags every June now, let's talk about vexillology. The basic point I want to make here is that this flag serves a purpose, and regardless of your feelings about it, it's here to stay. Not only this, but of course it is very similar to a number of other Pride flags that the same people claiming to hate the Progress Pride flag are more likely to consider to be legit, or at the very least have a lot less of a problem with. None of these flags represent the original, even in cases where, like the Progress Pride flag, they either seek to emulate or else directly include the more traditional Pride flag, like the many stripes on the lesbian flag, which is just a pink version of the rainbow flag, or the many others that are just recolors of the rainbow design, or indeed the questioning or ally flags, which straight up just take the rainbow flag as a base and add shit on top of or around them. And if we're going to talk about ugly flags, which is a rather pointless exercise anyway, because like any art form, it's entirely subjective, why aren't we talking about the monstrosity that is the polyamory flag? As I mentioned last year, I believe, I am poly and I choose to use the unofficial redesigned flag. It's that bad. Likewise, if you think this one is too busy, have you seen some of the shit people have made out there? The rubber Pride flag looks like a 1970s corporate logo, the leather flag looks horrendous to many people in design, as do the lipstick lesbian and bear flags, which have weird symbols off in the corners, but literally nobody cares about that shit, because why would they? You see these flags around all the time at Pride parades, even when the rainbow flag also covers hairy gay men and LGBTQ plus folks who are into rubber, but nobody genuinely thinks that they're going to replace the rainbow flag, now do they? So why should this flag be any different?
Sing if you're glad to be gay. Sing if you're happy that way. Hey, sing if you're glad to be gay. Sing if you're happy this way.
It is genuinely astonishing to me that there are somehow still people in lefty or even queer spaces who feel comfortable repeating this extremely bad, misinformed take. Yes, this flag is busy, but in my opinion, it serves an important purpose, making inclusion of trans people and people of colour explicit. And let's be honest, once acceptance of trans people within the community is more widespread, there will no longer be a need for it. Likewise with people of colour, and especially those suffering from or who have lost loved ones to AIDS. Don't get me wrong, I think some variants are extremely bad and dumb from a vexillological perspective, and the one that adds in the intersex flag is just a step too far aesthetically for many people, including myself, but honestly, who fucking cares? It's not replacing the rainbow flag, but even if it was, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened, even by its original creator, as recently as 2017. We may like to pretend otherwise, but it's undeniable that there are a lot of transphobes and racists in the community too, so in my opinion, we benefit from a way to say explicitly and visually that our movement includes those often overlooked or marginalised even within LGBTQ plus spaces, and the Progress Pride flag serves that purpose very well, at least to my mind. The funny thing is, I guarantee that in 20 years time, this flag will no longer be used because it will no longer be useful or relevant, just like the Victory Over AIDS flag is rarely flown these days, now that we've, if not cured, then at least been able to mitigate the effects of AIDS. Speaking of that flag, by the way, I feel it's often overlooked that the black stripe in the Progress Pride flag has a double meaning, and as well as signalling the need to include people of colour in LGBTQ+ liberation movements, we need to remember those who were lost due to AIDS, as well as discriminatory practices and policies, or just bigotry in general. Happy Pride, everyone, and if you see someone flying this flag at a parade, maybe stop and think about why they might be choosing to do so before you go off on one assuming that they think you're a racist for flying the original or whatever. And also, remember that the first purpose of the top colour of the original Pride flag was supposed to symbolise queer sex, so maybe before you decry fellow queers for being overtly sexual at Pride parades because the kink at Pride discourse is just days from hitting the mainstream once again, you should perhaps consider why that might be. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last proper video. I'm still working on a really long documentary video about ghosts and ghost hunters, but it's slow work. There's a lot of research that I need to do. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my real life. So sorry, but that should be coming out soon, and your regularly scheduled programming from this channel should be returning to at least a version of normal. Thanks so much for watching. I'll probably put out another couple of shorter videos like this in between now and the big video, depending on what it is that pisses me off on Twitter next. But yeah, I'll be back soon, and thanks so much for watching, everyone. Bye! Oh, and follow me on Patreon and stuff. You get bonus stuff. I'm really bad at being a YouTuber.